Our school district has expanded the use of restorative practices to 7 middle and 2 elementary schools, but suspensions have only gone down 6%. Good intentions and good ideas alone will not redeem our school system. Most of what we won commitments on last year were not followed through on. So we are here tonight to hold our district accountable for what they keep saying they want, an end to the school to prison pipeline.
My name is Caitlin White, and I am one of the pastors of Collective Church in DeLand, Florida. Faith has met with each of these stakeholders individually for the past few months. We have submitted our questions ahead of time so that they will be prepared for their answers. We ask that each of you provide a clear answer, and once everyone has responded to each question, you will be given up to 2 minutes to explain your answer. Pedro Dash and Carrie Rossellino are here to make sure that we get a direct answer to all questions. Our first question is for all school board members and the superintendent. Do you personally believe that the high out-of-school suspension rate in our district is unacceptable? School board chair Persis?
Yes.
School board member Colon?
Yes.
School board member Wright?
Yes.
School board member Hayes?
Yes.
And Superintendent Russell?
Yes.
Will you vote yes on a motion at the April 9th school board meeting to direct the superintendent to create a written plan to reduce out-of-school suspensions by 50% by 2021? Chair Persis?
No.
Is there a specific part of the question that you have trouble saying yes to?
Yeah, 2120. 2120.
Oh, sorry, 2021. I might have misspoken, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you said 2021, and I'm thinking 3 years from now would be 2122. So fiscal year, if the year starts 21, ends in 22, there's 3 years. You need 3 years. So either 3 years from where we started this year, 1819 to 2021, that's fair. 1819 to 2021. That's
3 years is acceptable.
Yes.
Board member Cologne. Will you make a motion at the April 9th school board meeting to direct the superintendent to create a written plan to reduce out-of-school suspensions by 50% by 2022?
Yes.
Thank you. The next question is for the other school board members here tonight. Will you second and vote yes on a motion at the April 9th school board meeting to direct the superintendent to create a written plan to reduce out-of-school suspensions by 50% by 2022?
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Wright. And Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
Thank you. The next questions are for all school board members and the superintendent. Will you work with Faith on this plan and ensure that it includes the following elements? And I'm going to ask you one element at a time if you don't mind. The expansion of restorative practices with consistency and fidelity to all Volusia County elementary, middle, and high schools by the year 2023. Chair Persis?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Colon?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
And suspensions of children of color and children with special needs. Chair Persis?
Yes.
Mr. Colon?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
And Superintendent Russell.
Yes.
Thank you. Our third item on that plan, will you include a single evidence-based restorative practice curriculum for all in-school suspensions? Chair Persis.
For all in-school suspensions next year, I'm not sure.
This is an item in the plan that we hope to have in all schools by 2023.
I get it. Yes, sure, yes.
Mr. Colon,
Yes.
Ms. Wright,
Yes.
Ms. Haynes,
Yes.
and Superintendent Russell.
Yes.
Thank you. And finally, the last item in that plan, will you include quarterly benchmarks to monitor the success of the plan? Chair Persis?
Absolutely, yes.
Mr. Colon?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
And Superintendent Russell?
Yes.
Thank you. Our next question for you all, will you provide Faith with a quarterly report for the number of suspensions issued, information on the infraction, as well as the race, gender, and ability status of students? Chair Persis.
Everything, I'm good with everything except the ability level of the student. If it doesn't conflict with federal privacy laws regarding that issue, then the answer is yes.
Absolutely. And these are not tied to individuals' names. We wouldn't want to create a transparency issue. Thank you. Mr. Colon?
Yes.
Ms. Wright?
Yes.
Ms. Haynes?
Yes.
And Superintendent Russell?
Yes.
Thank you. Finally, will you meet with Faith by the end of May 2019 to begin working on the plan? Chair Persis?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Colon?
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Wright?
No. And the reason why, I know my travel schedule for now through May, I just won't have time until June, July.
We'll take that as a yes for July. Thank you. Ms. Haynes?
I also have to say no for the May date due to some things.
Do you think you could meet with Faith by the end of July 2019 to begin working on the plan?
Yes.
Thank you. And Superintendent Russell?
Yes.
Thank you.
This means 300 more children a year receive positive intervention instead of a detrimental arrest record. However, there were still 306 children in our community arrested last year for non-serious misdemeanors instead of receiving a civil citation. We thought we fixed this problem last year. We turned up 1,400 people to our action.
Yes, our numbers have gone up since the signing of the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding, yet civil citation numbers remain stagnant. So this year, we started digging around to figure out why this was still happening. Our sheriff and other police chiefs tell us they don't want to arrest children for making childish mistakes, yet their numbers do not back up their words. They also tell us that they are issuing civil citations whenever they can, but don't have proof of this because we have been delayed by DJJ, Department of Juvenile Justice. For the last 4 years, I'm getting the appropriate report that explains why children are not being issued civil citations. A report Chief Marathon committed to give us last year at our action. We do know that law enforcement isn't issuing civil citations 100% of the time. They can do better too. We have Sheriff Chitwood here tonight, and he has already committed to strengthen his civil citation policy by including in writing that each youth arrest will be inspected by the commanding officer and all discrepancies or offenses resulting in arrest will be personally reviewed by Sheriff Chitwood, and he will include more training on civil citations. We are making his commitments public tonight. So Sheriff Chitwood, would you like to comment?
Yes, I would. Real quick, to follow up on what happened with the school board, we need a juvenile assessment center here in Volusia County. We are surely on May 7th, Faith, we put out a call to our delegation from Tallahassee to meet with us.
Chief Marithu, last year we worked with the state attorney to draft a memorandum of understanding that you signed. It requires DJJ to send a letter informing the victim that a civil citation has been issued to a child and explaining the kinds of consequences the child faces. In addition, the victim is given an opportunity to object to the civil citation. A victim may not even be a person. It could be a corporation like Walmart. In recent meetings with your staff, we have heard them say that they are not following the MOU and are still calling victims on the phone and asking permission to use civil citations, even when law enforcement believes a child should receive a civil citation. This is not best practice for reducing childhood arrests or good for our children. Another reason children are being arrested and excluded from civil citations, even when law enforcement chooses to issue them, is for domestic offenses. We have heard alarming statements from your staff about how, quote, we don't issue civil citations for domestic violence here in Volusia County and for criminal contact, and will you hold your staff accountable for following these procedures? Chief Marithu.
Yes.
Pivotal to decreasing childhood arrests is reporting. Faith has been pushing DJJ for the last 4 years to provide a regular report that explains the reason why children are not getting civil citations. The responsibility could be on law enforcement for not issuing them, or on DJJ for not approving them after law enforcement issues them. We have no way of telling which party is responsible because DJJ is the only entity who has all the information. The reporting is required in the MOU. We understand that the state is going to have an easy-to-access report up on their website soon. Until then, DJJ staff will have to review arrest records by hand. And it may be a lot of work, but it's worth it, amen? Faith cannot hold any law enforcement agency accountable unless we know the reasons why a child was arrested when they could have been issued a civil citation. If we need to be meeting with any of the 13 law enforcement agencies in our county and challenging them to increase their usage of civil citations, we need to know that now. We know that you want to keep as many children out of the criminal justice system as possible. We know that you wouldn't have been working for the Department of Juvenile Justice or be in your current position if you didn't care as much as we do. Chief Marithu, will you direct staff to create a monthly report that explains why each child eligible did not get a civil citation and send that report to Faith every month beginning in June 2019?
Yes.
Thank you. During meetings with DJJ and law enforcement, we hear often that law enforcement wants to issue a citation for domestic offenses but cannot do so because they want to remove the child from a potentially unsafe situation. When a family member is not available, the child is often taken to Beach House, a sanctuary for runaways that provides services for children in need. But DJJ tells us that they are almost always full, so the child ends up arrested because of this lack of space. We just found out that Beach House is in fact funded by DJJ. They have 20 of those beds. Chief Marithu, Will you allocate enough money for Beach House to staff those 12 empty beds?
No.
Is there a part of the question that you have a difficult time saying yes to?
The Department of Juvenile Justice contracts with an outside agency. Beach House and Stuart Marshman subcontract with them. We do not provide funding directly to the Beach House. So any additional funding would have to come from the oversight agency that we contract with.
Is,
Not in charge of that contract, or goes into that contract?
We have entered into a contract with that organization. They decide based on need where the funding goes.
And do you not have say in what that contract says? I mean, you signed the contract, so obviously you would have say in what that contract says, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is there a way to negotiate that contract with your contractor services?
So that contract has been renegotiated many, many times.
And is there a way to renegotiate the contract in order to receive the funding for these extra 12 beds?
The funding is there, and the funding is allocated based on the need of the agency receiving the funding.
So who makes that decision then?
The agency that we have contracted with.
And you have no control over that, is that what you're saying?
They
Which
determine,
seems awkward if you're signing a contract that you have no control over.
well, they determine the need.
And we're showing you that there is a need for more beds in this.
Correct, and I met with the Beach House director last week, and she is going to be requesting more funding. The funding comes from them.
So she is requesting for funding. Will you advocate for that funding? Or
Absolutely, if there's a need. But